Hey everyone! For my first set of videos, I want to focus on the sport I am by far the most passionate about, volleyball. If you're a volleyball fanatic like me, you've probably asked yourself this question many times. How can we make volleyball as successful as the other major sports like basketball and football? And by success, I mean more people playing, and most importantly, more people paying to watch volleyball. Volleyball is incredibly fun and competitive, and every 4 years during the Olympics, it generates a ton of buzz. But every time, that buzz fades quickly, and as soon as the Olympics end and football starts a few weeks later, volleyball fades into the background. Unfortunately, generating long-term success requires more than a few exciting weeks every 4 years. Of course, volleyball will never be as big as basketball or football. The biggest difficulties for volleyball being the business of sports. I am not a business person. I'm a physicist. I tried business once, and it was the worst thing I ever did. I encourage you all to look up the legendary beach volleyball player Ken Steffes' ongoing commentaries on the business of modern sports, particularly of beach volleyball, on his Facebook page. He knows what he's talking about. So, what I can do is help improve the gameplay of volleyball. Now, I know at best, changes in gameplay can only cause modest improvements on the success of volleyball. Ken Steffes justifiably makes fun of people proposing new rule changes in hopes of saving the sport. Regardless, I'm gonna shoot my shot anyways. To improve the gameplay of volleyball, I looked at what the other major sports are doing right with their gameplay. And after analyzing them, I've identified two structural flaws that I believe are holding volleyball back. In this video, we'll explore the first key structural flaw and a potential solution. The second key structural flaw will require a radical solution for which I'm still gathering data, so it will be addressed in a future video. The first key structural flaw lies in how points are scored in volleyball compared to basketball and football. In basketball and football, different plays result in different amounts of points. But in volleyball, no matter how epic the rally or the kill, you only get one solitary point. That still only counts as one! That structurally erects a ceiling on how impactful each rally can be. By comparison, in basketball, you can score 1 point for a free throw, 2 points for a basket inside the three-point arc, and 3 points for a shot beyond the three-point arc. These three scoring options create three different levels of impactful plays, with three-pointers being the most difficult, thus scoring the most points, and being the most impactful. Plus, players can differentiate themselves with stats like free throw percentage, field goal percentage, and three-point percentage. For further comparison, in football, you can score 1 point for an extra point kick, 2 points for a safety, 3 points for a field goal, and 6 points for a touchdown. Again, multiple scoring options creates multiple levels of impactful plays, with touchdowns being by far the most difficult, thus scoring the most points, and being the most impactful play. And again, it allows for numerous stats that highlight different players' skills. Now think about volleyball. It is very simple. In fact, I argue it's too simple. One rally always equals exactly 1 point. No matter what happens, every rally has the same value. No more, no less. This makes all rallies equally impactful, regardless of how the rally terminates. It also limits the way players can differentiate themselves. Imagine if basketball only gave 1 point for every basket. The emotional impact of dunks and the numerical impact of three-pointers would be totally lost. So how can we make volleyball scoring more differentiated and give players more ways to stand out? What if we measured how high the ball bounces off the floor? That would be cool, but definitely not a good idea. Ask yourselves, what's the true objective of volleyball? In basketball, it's to get the ball in the basket. In football, it's to get the ball across the goal line. So what are we really trying to achieve in volleyball? Think about it for a sec. Okay, that's enough time. So what's the answer? Well, according to the FIVB's website under the Basic Rules section, and I quote, "The objective of the game is to send the ball over the net in order to ground it on the opponent's court and prevent the same effort by the opponent." In simple terms, The objective is to kill the ball to your opponent's court. Did you think of that? Now, there's a hidden but to that objective statement, and it's a very big but. The but is it's not the only objective, because when the ball lands out of bounds, the same solitary point is scored as killing the ball to the opponent's court. Why does the volleyball rulebook say that the objective is to kill the ball to the court when, for example, hitting it off your opponent's hand and out of bounds scores the same lonely point? This is something that has never felt right to me. Am I the only one? Isn't killing the ball to your opponent's court more impressive and more exciting, at an emotional level at least, than getting a micro touch off your opponent's finger and out of bounds? Obviously it is. Then why do these two objectives score the same equivalent point and therefore have the same equivalent level of impact? We already laid out that football has different objectives too, but each objective scores a different number of points like they should. This is, in my view, clearly a structural flaw that needs to be fixed. So here's a solution to the first structural flaw: the simple scoring differential system, or SSD system for short. I hope all my fellow medical physicists see what I did there. It works like this. Rule number 1, 2 points to the opponent on whose court the ball lands in. Rule number 2, 1 point to the opponent of who last touched the ball before the ball lands out of bounds. And rule number 3, 2 points for faults, like net touches and double contacts. Basically, 2 points for when the ball lands in, 1 point when the ball lands out, and 2 points for faults. Easy, right? The SSD system properly differentiates how kills to the court score more points than deflections out of bounds, thus making kills to the court more impactful like they are. Plus, we could differentiate players by, for example, tracking an attacker's ratio of 2-point kills to 1-point kills. Better attackers would have a higher ratio. For this video, I identified the current single point per rally scoring system as a key structural flaw holding volleyball back, and I presented the SSD system as a potential solution. By rewarding kills to the floor more than balls that land out of bounds, I believe the SSD system would create a differential in the impactfulness of rallies and allow us to better differentiate players. Now I want to hear from you. What do you all think about improving volleyball by comparing it to other major sports? Are there any other structural flaws you have noticed that might be affecting its success? What do you think of the SSD system? Should the number of points depend on where the ball lands? How would you change the SSD system? In my next video, I'll present a more complex scoring system that builds on the SSD system. Finally, I'd like to thank my wonderful family for their love and support. Take care, everyone.